to live. Oh, not started yet. I have no idea what any of that stuff is. I don't know any of this. No. Do I look like the kind of... Oh, not started yet. That's me.
What's up, T-Bone?
What's up? Okay. Hold on, man. This is not as easy as I thought it would be.
And then do I have to go to that other website to see the questions?
What?
Do I have to go to that other website to see the questions, or are you just going to tell me?
Yeah, you'll have. Unfortunately, you'll have to do that. Or I can actually text them to you.
You can just tell me. You can just talk it out.
Okay. So why don't you put your PowerPoint up, or do you have a PowerPoint to go through even?
I actually did not do it, but I could very quickly get the.
Let me actually.
I could get.
Yeah, we don't have to go through that.
Yeah, let me at least get the your case up. Hold on.
So I won't really need to turn it to you then, will I?
You may if I need to demonstrate anything on Cario.
Okay. All right. So this is what they'll see. But there's a, what I say to here is a 45-second delay.
Okay.
So now I'm trying to figure out how to make this come onto my earphones.
Has anybody joined us yet?
No, they'll always be 5 to 10 minutes late. No, I'm good. Nobody submitted any questions, correct? Hutan, can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay. Oh, we have a few people that have joined us.
Nice. And Tarun, actually, let me just do a quick check here. Make sure you can see my screen if need be.
Yeah, I don't really need to see you, Hutan.
I just want to make sure that you could. You see my screen in my desktop, right?
I do, and great. All right, it's 1 o'clock. We're going to get started here in a few minutes. We're going to give everybody a chance to pop on. I know that if your office is anything like mine, that 1 o'clock doesn't mean 1 o'clock, it means 1:05. So we'll give everybody a few more minutes. Hutan, how's work? I mean, everybody can hear us talk, by the way, now.
Work is great. Just got back from Seattle, had a good session there, and just trying to get my work done.
That's good. So for everybody that's joining us right now, if you could just take your computer and scroll down to the bottom of the screen, you'll see a got a question thing there. And if you could, just to know that you exist, if you have any questions or anything specific or a specific type of case that you'd like us to get covered, we're really here. We have a pre-put together plan, but I do want to make sure that we cover any specific questions that you do have.
Any questions, T-Bone?
None yet. I guess people don't have questions these days. I guess I'll submit one. Okay, Hutan, I think we should go ahead and get started. It's 1:02. And let's get started with everybody. So everybody, welcome. I do want to thank everybody for their time and patience today. This is our first webinar. This is new for us this year in trying to follow up with everybody after the courses. And I think that knowing how my practice operates, it's always great. Oftentimes you come back as the doctor owner of the practice, and you know, things get a little bit struggle. Things don't go exactly as easy as we make it seem in the class, or as easy as it was for you during the class. So these follow-up webinars are designed to really be a great question and answer session to review some fundamentals. Our goal today is really to review some basic fundamentals. We will, as we move forward, as we already have one scheduled for March, we will try to get into some more advanced cases, but I want to come back to some of the basics that we're seeing right now. So again, this webinar technology is new to us, so hopefully everything works very well. Your feedback on the value of this webinar would be great for us to know afterwards. So if you found the webinar valuable, please drop us an email and let us know. If you found the webinar technically didn't come across the way you need it to be, please let us know so that we can look at some different solutions to help us achieve our goals a little bit better. So again, to submit questions, there's a question box at the bottom of your screen. Just scroll down on the website that you're looking at, and there'll be a got a question, and just put your name. And if you don't want to put your real name and email address in there, don't. But I'm not going to call out your name or do anything like that. Everything submitted will be anonymous. So if you have any questions, please submit them so that we can make sure that we answer that. Okay. So let's get going. And I'm sorry, I'm here with Hutan. Hutan, say hello.
Hi, everybody.
So Hutan's here to answer any questions that we may have. I'll lead the webinar. And I also have Melissa here. Melissa is sitting next to me, and that way, if we have any specific questions on workflow or some specific things that come up, we can I can go to the person that's actually doing it in our office. So great. So let's move forward here, and here. So I'll always start with why are we doing this, and really our challenge is growth. In our practices, we're all feeling external pressures from insurance companies, from dentists around us, from ourselves in terms of what's making us happy, what's not making us happy, our need to grow the practice, to just continue to allow all of us to prosper. So our challenge is growth. And what I found, thanks to the help of Hutan, is that medical billing is a great option to enhance your revenue without having to gain any new patients. In other words, these are procedures and patients that you're already seeing in your practice that allow us to now increase our revenue. The other nice thing about using medical insurance is that we will be able to help our patients do dentistry they may not be able to afford. Okay. That you may not be able to afford. It's very nice in that sense as well. So what are our expectations? Okay, so I'd like to re-clear our expectations, because oftentimes your doctor will come back to you. I assume I'm mainly on with many of the team members. I'm sure there are also some doctors on board as well. But the expectations, if you are 2 to 3 months into this or 4 months into this and you're feeling frustration, that is the expectation. The first 2, 3, 4 months of doing something that's very new, something that's totally different to you, is frustrating. And so, but the expectation should be that we will continue to fight through this barrier and continue to move forward. For example, in our own practice, when we started doing this, it was very difficult for us. It was hard integrating this. It was hard to fit this in with everything else that was going on, all the different things that were happening in the office. But over time, that became better. So our expectations, okay, are to continue to grow and continue to expand what we're doing with this. Now, the procedures. Too often what I found, just from my own experience, is that we focused on very complex cases. We focused on fancy bone grafts. We focused on fancy complex surgical cases, gum lifts, different things, soft tissue grafting, all these things that are very complicated. And what I tried to do when I really started feeling success with this, and what we need each of you to do, is I started feeling success when we made it simple. In other words, we went back to exams, x-rays, basic procedures, appliances, night guards, sleep appliances, all those different things, but mainly focusing on just building our exams and our x-rays is a great logical place. A great logical place to get started, okay, is by starting on just your exams and the x-rays. And our workflow, what is our workflow? So I know some of the challenges that we're facing is that there are breakdown. There's a breakdown in the front office, there's a breakdown on the clinical side, there's a breakdown on the insurance side, then there's a breakdown on the doctor side. So let's revisit each of those things. So fight the urge to be fancy, focus on the basics, expect a lot of denials. And why do I say that? because if you're not getting denials, that means you're not filing enough. Okay, in other words, you're not submitting enough. I need you to be submitting. If you have a question whether or not it'll get paid, if you have all the information, my belief is you submit it. Let's see what happens. If they deny it, they deny it. It's no big deal. Okay, if they deny it because you don't have your SOAP note, at least you got the claim in the system, and now you have a method of follow-up. And you have to go into this knowing that not everything pays. Unlike dental insurance, where you know we have a good grasp on when fillings are going to get paid for and exams are going to get paid for, unique set of rules and regulations that they follow. And again, I always believe in starting with the goal. And to me, the goal should be, you should expect $5,000 a month starting month 3 or 4. And some of us, I know, in working with Hootan, have already been seeing that. But some of us are not seeing that. And I would say the reason we're not seeing that is, quite honestly, we're not billing our exams, we're not billing our x-rays, and we're not billing everybody. Okay, so to get to that level, I promise you, it is a very straightforward and easy process to do. You just have to be committed to it. Hootan, do you have any comments on that?
No, but what I would like to do is maybe ask a question starting with the most basic premise. Have we, at least on the very front end of the workload or the workflow, started implementing that every new patient and every patient that comes through hygiene, we get a front and back scan of their medical insurance card?
Okay, so again, that's where it starts, right? And going with Hootan talks about there is you got to start with the card. So let me back up 1 second, Hootan. My slide just I went out of order myself. Is I want to focus on exams, 3D X-rays, appliances, basic oral surgery, and miscellaneous things along those lines. Now here's our workflow, and to go to Hootan's point. Is that it starts with admin. The first thing we have to do is we have to get the medical benefits card. Okay. So we now get the medical benefits card, we're fighting an uphill battle. So the first thing we have to start doing is collecting medical insurance. And that involves asking the question, Mrs. Jones, do you happen to have any medical insurance information? And I know that in our own mind, we're like, well, how do we ask the question for this? How do we handle what they're going to ask? Why do you need that? The answer is simple. Mrs. Jones, great news for you. It's always a benefit to the patient. Great news for you. We found that by working with medical insurance, they often pay for many of the things that we're doing or help pay for many of the procedures in our office. We'd like to help maximize your medical personal. And that's all. You just need to let the patient know what's the benefit. Hootan, would you agree with that?
I would agree. That's all you need.
Yeah, I believe in giving as little information as possible. So in other words, just start by saying, hey, we're collecting medical insurance cards. We find that many of the diagnostic procedures that we do and some of the surgical procedures that we can do, medical insurance. It's some new training that we've had, and leave it at that. And if they keep asking questions, then answer the questions. And what you'll find is that 90% of your patients will give you the card without even thinking, and they'll probably thank you for it. It'll be the 10% of the patients that give you like, why do you need this? What are you going to do? And for them, say, no problem. We don't require you to have a medical insurance or follow your medical insurance on your behalf. We'll be happy to make less work for ourselves and have dentistry cost more for you out of your pocket. Something along those. You don't have to really say that to them. So then we have to do the eligibility and benefits check. And for me, this is just a matter of finding out what insurance they have, what the deductible is, and what procedures they can pay for. Then we have to decide what procedures need pre-authorization. Okay, and Hootan, one of the questions we had submitted was, if a pre-auth was not done prior to having a CBCT scan done, what are the chances of having it approved through insurance?
If the CT scan was done and pathology was found that under the terms of that particular insurance plan are deemed as medically necessary, such as chronic sinusitis or an abscess or pulp calcification or atrophy, then regardless of the pre-op not being done, the claim will still pay based on medical necessity.
Okay, so to reiterate what Hootan said is, in other words, if it's truly medically necessary, then they can't deny it simply because you didn't have time to the pre-auth. For example, if your patient walks into an emergency room and is bleeding out of their aorta or their carotid artery, I mean, it's not like you have time to call the phone, pick up the phone and get a pre-authorization to fix them. Sometimes you have to do things on an emergent basis. Your patient may come in and you need to take the x-ray, and then you go back and do a pre-auth, or you go ahead and submit the claim with a letter of medical necessity to fight that. So my answer to you on that particular situation would be always try to get the pre-auth. I know it's not always possible. And in situations when you don't get it, I would go ahead and submit. And sometimes you'll see that they pay anyway, because not all of them always require a pre-authorization on every case. And depending on your diagnosis codes, they may not need that.
Now, to add one further step there, T-Bone, if whoever asked that question, if they've submitted a claim and an EOB came back from, let's say, Cigna, who does this a lot, and says, well, hey, there was no pre-authorization done and the EOB appears to be a denial, please realize and read that EOB carefully. They're not denying your claim. They're simply stalling by saying, hey, you didn't do a pre-auth. So what you'll need to do is call back and ask whoever it is that's asking for the pre-auth to say, hey, well, you know what? We just sent in this claim. We obviously didn't do a pre-auth. Where can we send the medical records? And the options will be either you will mail in your medical records for medical necessity review, or, which I prefer, and so does our team at Code, go ahead and fax it in. And they'll give you very specific instructions with a specific fax number and an exact claim reference number to put on your cover sheet for your fax.
Get that white thing. Hold on one second, everybody.
Good, T-Bone?
Okay, yeah. So I was just getting Melissa hooked up to the webinar with her own set of headphones. I don't think Melissa knew what headphones look like. She's giving me a hard time now. I'm just trying to make fun of her. I told Melissa if I don't make fun of people, I don't like them. We have another question here along the same lines, Hutan, do you send a letter of medical necessity on exams and x-rays?
Absolutely not, unless it's cone beam and they ask for it. So normally with your exams, your basic imaging, what I mean by basic imaging is two-dimensional. You just want to fire that claim electronically. I can't say never, but 99% of the time, I have never ever been asked records for like a pano, a PA, or an exam. It just doesn't happen. Either it pays or it doesn't pay.
Okay, so I'll go a step further on that. And again, this is where we'll all have our own ways of doing things, and there's no right or wrong. Well, there's no wrong way. There's no right way of doing things. There's certainly some wrong ways of doing things. I would say that on exams and x-rays, I submit every claim without a letter of medical necessity. When our 3Ds get denied, and some of the claims do get denied, then we will submit a letter of medical necessity as a follow-up to that denied claim. So my belief is, hey, let's get the easy ones, the low-hanging fruit, let's get that taken care of. And the ones that become a problem, in other words, the plans that are more stringent, then I will submit a letter of medical necessity after the claim has been denied for those claims. Does that sound fair to you, Hutan?
It does. That's kind of how, that's exactly how we handle it, same way.
Okay, so again, this goes back to my very first thing, okay, which is exams and x-rays. Exams and x-rays. I promise you, you need to get some success. You need to get some understanding of what's going on. If I can just get you to focus on exams and x-rays, you will see an immediate return to your practice, and you'll get that success that you'd like to help keep you moving forward. Because if we keep failing, if we keep getting denials, and we keep not getting any success, we have no desire to continue to move forward. Okay. So Hutan, we have another question here as well. And guys, please keep submitting the questions. They're wonderful. You know, it helps us focus on what we need to do. How long does it typically take for a claim to be processed?
It depends, first of all, on the claim, and it also depends on the carrier. So these are going to be some very general numbers I'm going to give. Each state is a little bit different. But if it's a basic exam and basic imaging, you should have something back in about 3 weeks. If it's cone beam, you're going to be looking at about 4 weeks because you are out of network, and that's a more complicated claim that may go to medical review. And then if it's surgery or sleep apnea, it could certainly take 4 to 5 weeks. Now, the only thing that could possibly be an issue is if there's any credentialing issues that you have with the medical insurance company. And what I mean by credentialing is not being in or out of network. I mean having your NPI and tax ID correctly reported to that carrier.
Okay, so that would be on the setup side of things. In other words, you're not properly set up, you're not properly got everything into the system on the medical insurance side.
Correct.
Okay. But again, to reiterate what Hutan's saying is, in other words, generally speaking, you should get a response from the insurance company within a month. Okay, generally speaking, within a month, you should have a response saying yes, no, maybe so. In other words, yes, it's paid, or yes, it would be paid, but it went towards deductible, or no, this claim's not going to get paid, or hey, we need some more information. Okay, so you're gonna get one of those 3 responses from them within a month. Now the key is, just like with dental insurance, you have to have a follow-up procedure in place. Okay, so I'd like to move forward to the clinical part of the workflow here, and that's focusing on the 3 things that we need from the back. Okay, from the back team. Okay, so again, most of this will fall on the admin team, the whole process of medical insurance, but the admin team can't do what we need them to do without providing them the clinical things, okay? And that belongs to needing the procedure code. In other words, what is it that you actually did? The diagnosis code, in other words, what's the ICD-10 code now, the ICD-10 code of why you did what you did, and then the SOAP note, okay? And the SOAP note would be part of your letter of medical necessity. In other words, what you did. Now, the great news, your SOAP note or your notes, don't overthink this. Just keep it simple. Okay, and honestly, it's probably pretty close to what you're already legally writing up in your dental software as it is. That can serve as your SOAP note, okay? The procedure code, what we've struggled with, what I've seen, is that I do things and I forget, hey, that's billable by medical. And to me, the big thing on the procedure code are the things that we do for free. In other words, there should be very little that we technically do for free. So for example, procedure code that we miss all the time. A patient came in for a post-op check after an extraction. We remove sutures. In the dental world, that's typically part of the universal fee. That's part of just, hey, part of the procedure of taking the tooth out. But that's technically a billable medical visit. Okay, that might be a level 1 exam, 99211. Okay, that could be a level 1 exam. In other words, your patient came in for a post-op check. That's $18. Okay, that's better than doing nothing. So Hutan, would you agree with my statement on that particular example?
I would.
That's a nice 1-word answer, or 2 words. I appreciate that. Now your ICD codes or your diagnosis codes, again, unlike a dental insurance where dental insurance doesn't require why you did an MOD. In other words, you don't have to write decay on there. In medical, every time you do a procedure, the CPT code, you have to provide a diagnosis code to go along with it. Okay, so for me, the clinical team has to provide the admin team the codes. Okay, and that comes to the super bill that we introduced to the group while they were here at the course. So again, and then the admin side comes back to creating the claim, and I'll have Hutan jump onto Cario here in a little bit, and we'll create a few claims so that we can see exactly what's going on, some modifiers, qualifiers, the letter of medical necessity, any follow-ups with denial, lack of information, and the, excuse my language, but the BS that comes with dealing with medical insurance, okay, because it is in their best interests to keep everything there. So again, your pre-auth. And so Hutan, as a general rule of thumb, what procedures would you say need to be pre-authorized?
Every single time with sleep apnea, I would do that religiously with no exception. I would also, if required, do those for my occlusal orthotics, occlusal splints, occlusal guards, and then certainly if it is within your workflow, I would recommend it doing for CT. But not as strongly as I recommend it for sleep apnea appliances and other durable medical equipment.
So to add on to that, the way we're doing it in our office is I look at pre-authorization. To me, pre-authorizations, we're doing them regularly on those things that we're not doing the same day. So typically we're not doing a sleep appliance the same day. Typically we're not necessarily doing an occlusal guard the same day. Typically we're not doing an implant or a surgical procedure the same day. We're not doing the extraction and the bone graft the same day. So we have the time to do the pre-authorizations. What we have found and what you will find over time is as you get better at doing these, you'll figure out which particular insurance companies require pre-auth for the simple things like the CT X-ray. What we found in our office is that not every Blue Cross plan requires the pre-auth. So we know that, again, that just like with dental insurance, you know which patient comes in, oh, you know they're going to downgrade that to an amalgam. You just know that just from doing enough of them. So the same thing will happen here. Now, again, this is our super bill. Okay, so here's the super bill. So if you guys don't have the super bill, please make sure that you email us at info@3ddentist.com so that we can provide you with the super bill. It should have been part of your course. Either you took it back with you or you have it. So hopefully this is the super bill. So what you can see here is these are procedure codes and the diagnosis codes that our clinical team is providing to our admin team. So this is like a routing slip. So separate from our dental stuff, we provide a routing slip for our admin team to go ahead and do this. So for example, on this one with a 3D scan and 3D interpretation. So every time we take a 3D x-ray, regardless of whether the deductible is there or not, we don't care about that on the clinical side of things. I'm going to get in the habit of creating this. So what I need each of you to do is to get 500 of these printed. And I need every single patient to have a routing slip. Okay, so if every patient has a medical billing routing slip, you'll get in the habit of doing these things. And then at least you'll get the process rolling, because too often what I'm seeing is we're not billing enough because we're not giving the admin team enough information on what we're billing. So again, if you don't have this, please let us know. Hutan, we have another question come in here. This question is, can you file? So there's a couple of questions that kind of go together here. So I'll ask you both questions, Hutan. If exams, x-rays, night guards, et cetera, are covered through dental, should we still file it to medical first? So how would we answer that one, Hutan?
What I would do before making that decision is I would do an eligibility check. So let's say dental covers those procedures and we do an eligibility check and medical also covers it, but the patient, let's say, has a $2,000 deductible that they have not yet met. At that point, I have two options. One is I could just go straight to dental and go ahead and collect my payment. Or if I really, really want to go that extra effort for the patient, I could send it to their medical, allow that to apply towards the patient's deductible. As soon as that denial arrives from medical, or excuse me, that application towards deductible arrives, I'm going to go ahead and bill dental. This way, the patient's getting the benefit of having their deductible lowered, and we are still fulfilling that deductible and meeting it by billing their dental, if that makes sense. Otherwise, again, to repeat, in a scenario like that, you can straight go to dental first. So the way I would answer that is by doing the eligibility check. That's really the key to that.
Okay, so to follow up on Hutan, hopefully that made sense. Again, this all comes back, and I don't really mean to keep coming to the same answer, but it comes back to the more you do this, the easier it becomes. Okay, the more you were doing this. So for example, in our office, we have a rule, every exam goes to medical first. Okay, because it's the easiest claim, it goes there. We know that typically the deductible doesn't apply, and we're going forward with that. In our office, for example, we're not billing the 3D to dental anyway, we're billing the Panorex to dental. So the 3D will go to medical insurance automatically. Our guards, when we have guards, again, we will do that eligibility check and we'll find out where the deductible stand for that particular patient. Okay, and then we'll make that decision that we need to go to medical first. My preference is always medical first, dental as a secondary. And the reason I like to go to medical first is that medical insurance typically have significantly higher allowables and higher reimbursement than dental insurance. Hutan, would you agree?
I would agree with that. The only thing that I want to clarify from what you said, the reason that you particularly as a person or as a practice are able to make that comment that I do exams all the time to medical, typically there's no deductible, that benefit exists for your office because you are in network with one of
Thank you for clarifying that. Yes, I am in network with Blue Cross Blue Shield, and our area happens to cover 80% of our patients, 70 to 80% of our patient population. We made a practice determination to go in network with Blue Cross Blue Shield.
Which, by the way, I think was a very good idea on your part, and I would recommend to.
I only have good ideas.
I would recommend to anybody listening, if at this point you have been collecting medical insurance cards, let's say from when we had our course a month and a half ago till now, and you've realized that one or two particular carriers are well over 50% of your practice's medical insurances, you may want to look into getting into network, because certainly what T-Bone has solved for himself is, yeah, he may not get quite as high as he would a payment out of network, but certainly I think he will tell you that he gets payment more often, because by going in network, he has
easier
deductible and easier. They will pay you quicker when you're in network.
Okay. And again, each of your practices need to make a decision on whether you want to be in network or not. I mean, obviously, I would always tell you it's better not to be in network, but that's a personal decision that you'll have to make. So, Hutan, along the same lines, and this follows up with the next question is, can you file a claim if dental insurance has already paid?
You could only file if dental insurance has not paid you in full. If dental insurance has paid you in full, you may not continue any further. If dental insurance has partially paid you, what you're going to do is go ahead and make a copy of that dental EOB and the payment that you received from dental and attach that to your medical claim so that the medical insurance can act as the secondary payer.
Okay, so to add on to that, just to make it simple, it's primary, secondary. Medical and dental work as primary and secondary. So if you go to medical first, it's primary, and then dental becomes secondary. If you go to dental first, it becomes primary, and then medical becomes secondary. If, in other words, if you charge $800 for a guard and dental insurance paid you $300, there's $500 remaining. That $500 will be eligible to go towards medical insurance. So you could file a secondary claim for that remaining balance to medical insurance in that particular case. How back can you go?
Sorry, did you just ask a last question there?
No, I asked how. No, I just asked my own question. But thank you.
Okay.
How far backwards can we go? In other words, hey, I did 10 guards last month. I didn't bill them to medical. Can I go to medical insurance now for those?
As an out-of-network provider with most medical insurance companies, your statute of limitations for filing a claim is 1 year in reverse. The only major company that has plans in almost every state that does not allow that is Cigna. Cigna will only let you go backwards 6 months from today.
Okay. So basically, I would go to 6 months. And, honestly, I'm going to keep harping on this because I can't harp it on it enough, is exams and x-rays, exams and x-rays. Just get your exams done. Just get your x-rays done in the last month or two, especially, for God's sakes, your patients that you saw in November and December, most of them have already met their deductible for the year. So when you file that claim with the service date of December 31st or December 15th, it's not like since you're filing it in 2016, the 2016 deductible applies. It's the deductible at the time of 2015. Would that be correct, 210?
That's correct.
Okay, so again, I know that sometimes it seems like a little bit of work, but until our practice grows, my team members cannot grow. Okay, so until our practice is doing better, and we all define better differently. For me, better is, hey, you know what? We can work 1 less hour. We can work a half an hour less a day. We can have whatever it may be. Every practice is going to be a little bit different. We have a question here. If you're out of network, will they send payment to the patient like they do with dental?
I'm sorry, ask the question again there.
Are you not listening?
No, you went in and out there for a moment.
Because my accent, because I'm Indian. I see how this works. If you're out of network, will they send payment to the patient like they do with dental?
It depends on the insurance company. If it's Aetna, Cigna, United Healthcare, like those guys, the check will come to you. They typically 99% of the time send the check to the provider. It is very rare that it would go to the patient. If it's Blue Cross Blue Shield of any state, and you see someone outside of your state. So Tarun, in your case, you're in North Carolina. Let's say you do something for one of the Patterson employees. Patterson employees have Blue Cross Blue Shield in Minnesota. In that scenario, because you are out of network, guaranteed the check would go to the patient's house. So Blue Cross Blue Shield, there is no exception to how they handle this with out-of-network providers. If you see an out-of-state plan, the check will go to the patient's house. Typically, your in-state plans will come to your office.
Okay, so hopefully that answers that. We have another question here. How much do you charge for a new patient exam to medical? So let me address this real quickly, okay? So I want to address the second part of that question to medical. Legally, you need to charge or have on your claim form the same fee that you bill to medical to dental as well. So your UCR that you submit to dental should be the same as your UCR that you submit to medical. So what I would recommend that everybody does is that you up your fee, your UCR fee, within your practice. So to give you an example, in our office, we submit roughly $200 as our new patient exam fee. We submit that fee both to medical and to dental. And again, since we're in network with dental, it gets down coded to the measly 25, 30, 40 bucks that it is anyway. And medical, we found in our particular state, for example, Blue Cross Blue Shield typically allows about $180 for a new patient level 3 or level 4 exam. Okay, Hutan, any further clarifications on that?
No, but in regards to where the check goes, that is also a piece of information that you could obtain during the eligibility check process. You could ask them over the phone, say, hey, listen, we're out of network, just want to confirm where's the check going. And normally the person on the other end of the line will be happy to tell you that.
Okay, so along that same line, we have a question here. If we call the insurance company or send them the medical assignments of benefits signed by the patient, in other words, the patient sounds to me like the patient is saying, hey, we give you permission to accept assignment of benefits, will the payment still then be sent to the patient instead of us?
Yeah, if it's Blue Cross Blue Shield and it's that out-of-state issue, there is nothing you can do to change that. And I mean absolutely nothing, not even that assignment of benefit letter.
Okay, so again, but don't let this interfere with you guys moving forward, okay? Because at the end of the day, what percentage of patients is that going to be?
I have a better question.
Okay. You should submit it through the webinar.
Yeah, I don't know necessarily why that is a big deal, because one thing that we should be doing, we should be making a solid effort, regardless of what we're billing to medical, we should be definitely making an effort to collect for our treatments up front. The only treatment I wouldn't collect up front for is for a patient that's been with me for a number of years who has excellent credit history in my office. I would extend the courtesy of, well, hey, the check might come to your house, please bring it. I just generally speaking, this is back from my consulting days, I would never depend on dental or medical insurance. And I'm saying this as the owner and president of Code. As an office manager, I would always protect my own office's accounts receivable.
Yeah, so for example, medical insurance is a surprise benefit in our office to our patients. So we don't proceed with any treatment that medical insurance is 100% going to pay. So in other words, if we know, we'll make our traditional financial arrangements with our patients, and then we tell our patients, hey, listen, we're going to submit this to medical. You may or may not get a benefit. If you do get a benefit, we apply that towards your treatment. We may even have to write you a check back, but we don't wait for medical insurance to pay. In other words, we don't allow our standard accounts receivables to get out of line.
Right.
So thank you for making that. That's a good point, Hutan. So here's another question. With Blue Cross Blue Shield, with the BS insurance, I thought we filed to our local Blue Cross Blue Shield even if it's out of state. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay, so you still file to your local agency, your plan, it'll then be, for simplicity, let's say, then they then send it to that other state to have it processed there. Yeah, so the home state to have it planned, to have it processed. Okay. So what I'd like to do, continue to send the questions. I want us to get done by about 1:50 so that we have time to maybe get back to work. It's 1:39 now. So I'd like to just kind of walk through some sample claims. And here's our patient. She's a new patient coming to our office. And I just want you guys in your head to figure out what are the codes that you'll be using and what are the diagnosis codes. Exam. So this is a new patient. So that means it's a 9920 exam, correct?
So if you work with T-Bone, exam should always be your answer.
Yes, I mean, if it's with me, it's always exams and x-rays. I make a pretty good living on medical billing with just the exams and the x-rays. So again, 9920, the zero signify a level of the exam would be the last digit. So that would be level 1, 2, 3, or 4, depending, or 5 even, depending on the complexity of your exam and the time spent with your patient. In our office, we're using level 4 as our exam, but we're taking blood pressures, we're documenting, we're reviewing radiographs, we're taking photographs, reviewing medical systems, reviewing the medical history with the patient. Either myself or someone from our team is spending approximately 1 hour to 1.5 hours with our patient. So that is in my mind, a level 4 exam. So we would submit this as a 99204. Additionally, on this new patient exam, we would also take 4 bite wings. The 4 bite wings, while they are submittable to medical insurance, our experience has been that there's no point. We submit those to dental insurance directly, and then we would have a Panorex. Okay, and what we have found in our particular case is that we submit our Panorex directly to dental, and then we would have our 3D X-ray, our CBCT, and our CBCT would be submitted to medical. So our claim for this particular case would have essentially 3 codes, 3 procedure codes. Procedure code number 1 would be for the exam, the 99204, and then procedure code number 2 and 3 would be related to the CT X-ray, and that would be your physical 3D scan itself, and then the interpretation of that scan. So our claim for this should have 3 procedure codes, and our diagnosis codes, our particular typical diagnosis codes that go with an exam. Hootan, what would be any good diagnosis code that we could use with an exam?
Oral cancer screening.
Oral cancer screening. So I would ask you, when is the last time that you haven't done an oral cancer screening on your patients when you do an exam? So again, I keep going back to the exam. And Hootan, I think I'll switch after we do this case. I'll switch over to you, and what I'd like you to do is just create a claim for just an exam, okay, with the diagnosis code, because it should be the easiest claim that we create. So on this particular case, here is our actual claim. We have 3 procedure codes: 99204. 70486 and 76376. 99204 again is for the new patient exam itself, the 0 signifying new patient and the 4 signifying level 4 exam. Some of my dentist friends are using, certainly that's acceptable. The 70486 is for the CT scan itself, and the 76376 is for the interpretation of the CT scan. So this is a very typical, very, very typical new patient claim that we create. I would say that this claim should take within the software maybe 30 seconds to create this claim. Let's call it even a minute to create this claim and click submit. And here we can see that this particular claim, we got paid $153.98 for the new patient exam. We got paid $272.87 plus $114.47 for the 3D scan and interpretation, for a total medical insurance reimbursement for this particular patient of $541.32. And quite honestly, as crazy as it sounds, this is not unusual for us to have, for us to see with our new patients in our practice. So Hootan, if you don't mind, could you switch over to...
One moment, sir. I'll be happy to do that.
It's not like I didn't give you a heads up earlier.
I'm ready to go. Let me just flip this over and we're going to get going here. All right, can you see my screen?
I've got your screen up now.
Okay, so let's just take any one of our patients here. We're going to take Jane Doe. And if you would, please, I'm going to go ahead and be admin, and you're going to go ahead and be clinical for me. And you're going to walk me through what some of your findings were on your exam. So happy leap year day. Today's the 29th.
Okay, so let's say Jane Doe, I saw the patient. I mean, I don't remember what we did. I did an oral cancer screening.
Okay, so what we're going to do is just go ahead and it's a level 4 exam, correct?
And our
So just to review,
let's say level 4.
Yeah, so just to review, the first 3 digits are always going to be 992. Your 4th digit, if it's a new patient, it'll be a 0. An established patient will be a 1, and a referred patient will be a 4. So this is a new patient. We spent about an hour of time. We reviewed medical history. We palpated lymph nodes. We also ruled out for oral cancer. So it's a level 4 exam. So I have 99204, new patient, 3 key components, comprehensive review of history. And so now my main diagnosis is going to be oral cancer. So the first code I put in is Z12.81, and that is encounter for screening of malignant neoplasms of the oral cavity. But of course, as we know as dentists, we also palpate the throat area, and we also obviously look at the patient. We look at their face if there was any kind of cancers skin-wise. So we're going to also add one more code. That's going to just be a general ruling out of cancer, and that could be throat, that could be skin, that could be some of the other ones that are within our license. And then, of course, I will set a fee, whatever that fee is. And sorry to make it look so easy, but that was actually it.
So that claim's done.
And
I would say Hootan took more time than I would like on that one, but obviously in education, I like to give everybody a hard time for those of us that are on that haven't met me before. So again, I keep going back to exams, periodic exams. How many hygiene patients are we seeing more than twice a year who we just give away that exam to? Or how many of our follow-up patients are we seeing that we just give away a office visit to? Okay, remember, an exam is also an office visit. It could be a level 1 exam, and that's for somebody that literally just comes in to pick up medications or to go over sedation medications, for example. Hootan, we had a question submitted. We got another 5 minutes here. I had a case that was a 2-hour TMJ exam with x-rays, so I filed a level 5 exam, and the insurance company questioned the level chosen. What should I change it to?
One, I wouldn't necessarily change it. I would actually defend why it was a level 5. It would be, I would try to prove the time that I spent with the patient. And then I would also prove through my records that I evaluated everything that is involved with a level 5 exam. So a complete review of their medical history, a complete review of their oral health, a complete review of all of their imaging. I would just make sure my documentation makes that clear. I wouldn't necessarily change the exam code. If it came down to me changing the exam code, then I would go to a level 4.
Yeah. So just from my perspective, I know all of us do things a little bit differently. I find that the level 5 exam is a very high level exam. So I've never submitted for a level 5 exam because I just find it very rare that many of us are really doing what truly counts as a level 5 exam. So again, here,
and from our end, Tarun, as you know, we do probably a couple thousand claims a month. From those couple thousand a month, maybe literally only about 5 times a month do we bill a level 5. And to be honest, even then, it's under very rare circumstances.
Yeah, I would just say, generally speaking, a level 5 exam should be, in dentistry, it should probably be ruled out. I would stick to level 3s and level 4s for your new patient exams. For your periodics, level 2s and level 3 office visits, essentially a level 1 exam. And remember also, the doctor does not necessarily have to see the patient to constitute a billable medical exam to the patient. Everybody in the dental office is working under the supervision of the dentist. So when your hygienist sees them or your assistant sees them, they're working under supervision. So if your assistant sees somebody to remove sutures, that does not mean that you cannot bill that exam to medical insurance. Let's take a look at this one case here, and this is just a typical CT scan. Again, let's say your patient comes in, it's an existing patient on hygiene, they're ready for an implant. or whatever, they're ready for the every 3 to 5 year Panorex, and now we're at CT office. We'll just submit the CT directly to medical insurance. And again, this is one of the easiest claims to file. We're not providing any letter of medical necessity with this particular case. We submit the claim. Some insurance companies will then come back and ask us for documentation, and then we'll submit a SOAP note. And then you need to have, in other words, you need to have a medical reason of why you took this. Very good ones. I think our super bill that we showed you earlier does a great job. And in fact, let me see if I can pop that up real quick. Our super bill that we had earlier.
You just had your super bill up a moment ago.
This way it'll be easier. So now we have the super bill up there. So again, I would say our super bill does a great job of covering essentially all the things that we would see on the CT scan. So sinus pneumonization, chronic sinusitis, deviated septum, mucus retention cyst, infections, periapical with the sinus, without the sinus. In other words, is it a tooth thing that's going into the sinus? Is there chronic periapical infection on the lower tooth? You know, is there atrophy? Are there missing teeth? Is it partially edentulous, condensing osteitis? We had one of those. Basically, pretty much this covers almost, you know, honestly, a good chunk of what we would see in the particular cases. So again, here this claim was submitted. Blue Cross Blue Shield, North Carolina, $387.34 was provided for this one. So we've got. Let's just take one more minute here, and we have one question. I want to go over this and then answer this last question, Hutan. I want to show you a case. Again, this one is, these are very important to me because I think it's nuts if we're not doing this type of treatment in our practice. And this is a patient that we saw as a new patient consult that also moved forward with sleep apnea treatment. So here's their total claim, not a claim from one day because we didn't deliver the appliance the same day, but here's a claim from their total treatment. We saw them for a new patient consult. So that's a 99202 for our consultations. We do a level 2 exam. We saw them for a 3D scan as well, 70486, 76376 for the interpretation, and the E0486 for the sleep appliance itself. As you can see here, our total claim was $3,050. Total paid amount was $3,052 for this particular claim. I will tell you that if you are not doing sleep apnea within your practice, you are missing a unbelievable potential, and you're missing really helping patients. To kind of put this in perspective, to me, the beauty of these are patients already in your practice. We know that 1 in 15 adults have sleep apnea. I would bet that you guys, many of your practices have already seen 15 adults this morning. So that was one sleep apneic patient that was already in your office that you didn't even know. And to give you an idea of how prevalent sleep apnea is the equivalent of diabetes in terms of the number of people affected with it. And we know diabetes is growing, which also means sleep apnea is growing. So sleep apnea and diabetics are about the same number of the population. You know, if you guys are looking for additional help on sleep apnea, certainly we have some workshops on that. Obviously, in our webinars and medical billing, we'll be happy to help you with that as well in terms of as we do these webinars to cover that. But I want to make sure that we're covering all of those things as well there. So we have 2 last questions. And then we'll call this a day. Hutan.
Yes, sir.
2 last questions here. When becoming a participating provider under medical, what did you use as your specialty? We participate with Aetna, and they are questioning it because we are not an oral surgeon. Additionally, they are combining our claims.
What does combining our claims mean?
I don't know. They didn't say, but let's say they're combining them. I don't know. Let's just pretend. What do you think it means?
I'm assuming.
So the person who asked that question, if you're still on, could you just clarify for us what they mean by additionally they're combining our claims? So in the meantime, let's go to the next question while we're going to come back, and a CBCT scan at the new patient exam. So the answer would be yes. In this particular case, our machine produces a reconstructed Panorex that we file to dental and a CBCT that we file to medical. So our reconstructed Panorex, I believe that code is 3330D3330, is submitted to dental insurance, and the CBCT is submitted to medical insurance at the new patient exam. And the same thing would hold true for our every 3 to 5 year patients that we see that need a Panorex. In our office, our Pano machine is our 3D X-ray. So for pretty much every time we take a Panorex, we're taking a 3D scan. It produces what's known as a reconstructed Panorex that we've been billing to dental insurance. Hootan, I didn't get any clarification on that, but what would your comment be on this oral surgery? What specialty are you providing when you're becoming a provider with medical insurance?
I'm assuming that's referring to your taxonomy, which is associated with your MPI number, which if you're a general practitioner, you're just going to use that one. I have not heard of Aetna discriminating against dentists and only allowing oral surgeons to go in. I'm not saying that's not true. It could be, but I am not aware of that.
So, okay, so everybody, we're out of time. I believe our next one is scheduled for March the 29th or 28th.
Tarun, real quick, if I may help
Yeah, absolutely.
If I may help, let me just show this real quick. And it might possibly help the application process. I hope it does. So I'm going to switch over to my screen.
Okay, so I'll switch over to you, Hootan.
Okay. And can you see my screen?
I do.
Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on NPI. I'm going to see if the registry system is up. It's been down for a few weeks. Let me see if it's up. Hold on. If it's not, I'll show the office a different system.
Luckily, you're not looking at porn or anything on your computer.
Thank God. So here's what we're going to do. I couldn't use the regular website from the government, so I'm going to type in my doctor's name. My doctor is Tarun Agarwal, and I go DDS, whoops, and I go DDS MPI, and the website I come to is HIPAA-Space. All doctors, including your dentist, whoever asked the question, is on here. So when I click on here, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to scroll down. At some point, about halfway down the page, I'm going to arrive to the specialty of the office. Sometimes what those in-network medical billing contracts are looking for when it comes to specialty is this taxonomy code right here. This taxonomy code lets the insurance company know that Dr. Agarwal is a general practitioner. So that's something that could possibly be part of your application process.
Okay. Well, thank you, Hootan. I want to thank everybody for joining. I know it was an hour away from your office. I greatly appreciate that. And we want to continue to do these webinars, and we want to hear feedback from you. And we always love the good, bad, and the ugly, okay? What was well, what was not so well, and what we could do better, how we can make this a more valuable. Thank each of you, and we look forward to hearing from you in the near future. Thank you very much.
Thanks, everyone.